You don't like me because you see me calling it like I see it. You're not Michael Jordan. You're not the GOAT. You did choke in an NBA Finals. 4 consecutive fourth quarters in an NBA Finals. This man was scoring 4 points. One game, he scored 0 points. In an NBA Finals, fourth quarter. With Jason Terry or J.J. Barea guarding you. There is no explanation for that. To anybody who knows basketball, that's a choke job.
This time, things got real personal, and the aftermath had everyone stunned. It all went down in March 2025 during a Lakers home game that turned wild. LeBron James walked right up to Stephen A., who was chilling courtside, and you could feel the tension in the air. Witnesses say LeBron told him straight up to stop talking about his son. That's right, this wasn't about basketball debates or Jordan comparisons. This was about Bronny James. For weeks, Stephen A. had been going in on Bronny on First Take. He said Bronny belonged in the G League, not the NBA. He even claimed LeBron was forcing his son into the spotlight just to keep the James name trending, no matter what it did to the league's image. Fans went crazy. Some said Stephen A. was just being honest. Others said he was crossing the line. When Stephen A. finally spoke out, he said he understood why LeBron snapped. He's a father first, Stephen A. admitted, but said LeBron should have called him privately instead of stepping up mid-game. That's a
choke job. You overcame it. Major props to you. You've elevated yourself from the time that LeBron James won the championship against Oklahoma City. Throughout the rest of his career, you can make a legitimate case of the GOAT argument with him against Jordan. But we get to piggyback off of the previous stuff that happened prior to that.
Cameras, the perfect timing, and even mentioned his ESPN contract drama. No punches flew, but Stephen A. made it clear if LeBron had swung, he wouldn't have backed down. Days later, LeBron fired back on the Pat McAfee show, saying Stephen A. missed the point. He said he's fine with basketball talk, but not when it drags his family into it. He accused Stephen A. of chasing clout and ratings. Stephen A. fired back hard on First Take. He straight up called LeBron a liar and said LeBron twisted every word. He claimed he wasn't attacking Bronny, just talking about LeBron's choices as a dad. Fans were left asking, where's the line between honest talk and personal jabs anymore? Then, Stephen A. dropped a wild 16-minute rant that lit up the internet. He called LeBron petty and said the real reason for all the tension was simple. Stephen A. still won't call LeBron the GOAT over Michael Jordan. But he didn't stop there. He dug up old drama, calling out how LeBron skipped Kobe's memorial and didn't show up for Dwayne Wade's Hall of Fame night. Later, Stephen A. tried to backpedal, apologizing for the Kobe remark, but it was way too late. The clip had already gone viral. Instead of cooling off, he doubled down on his podcast, accusing LeBron of acting nice in public while playing dirty behind the scenes. He even claimed LeBron once tried to get him kicked out of ESPN. Through it all, LeBron stayed quiet. After that March face-off, he didn't say a word. Analysts called it a one-sided feud. Stephen A. kept talking while LeBron just chilled all summer and fall of 2025. Stephen A. wasn't done yet. He came swinging harder than ever. He popped up on Carmelo Anthony's 7 p.m. in Brooklyn podcast and went all in. He straight up said he doesn't like LeBron. He called him fake, saying LeBron acts all smooth in public, but turns into a whole different person behind the scenes. Then Stephen A. set social media on fire. He claimed LeBron goes after black media voices the most, but stays quiet when it's white journalists. That comment exploded online and had everyone arguing nonstop. He even brought back their courtside clash, saying it felt staged, like LeBron only stepped up because the cameras were rolling. Stephen A. said the timing was way too clean, especially with his ESPN contract drop.
Michael Jordan was averaging 30 10 times in his career, played all 82 games 9 times. 9 times an all-NBA first-team defensive player, a defensive player of the year, okay, a 6-time champion, a 6-time NBA Finals MVP, a 5-time MVP of the league, and in your 22nd or 23rd year, you still chasing. Now, I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I think it's obvious who the GOAT is, in my estimation.
Until LeBron suddenly dropped a mysterious video that had everyone convinced he was retiring. But the twist, it wasn't retirement, it was a Hennessy ad. Fans were left confused, and Stephen A. wasted no time roasting it. He called it corny, called it cringy, and said LeBron was just chasing attention, not legacy. Under that, by November, Stephen A. was back on First Take, throwing more heat. This time, he accused LeBron of stat padding, claiming he was chasing numbers just to stay in the GOAT race. He stood firm, saying no matter what LeBron does, he'll never catch Michael Jordan. That line hit deep, especially coming from someone who's been covering the game for decades. As the year wrapped, Stephen A. admitted he and LeBron have zero relationship now, and he's fine keeping it that way. Fans were split, some backed LeBron for defending his family, others sided with Stephen A. for keeping it real. But analysts saw it clear. Both of them were winning big off the chaos. The feud was pulling views, headlines, and nonstop attention everywhere. That Michael Jordan angle everyone keeps tossing around isn't what the headlines say. It's not about LeBron mocking MJ at all. Stephen A. didn't blast LeBron for that specific thing either. It all circles back to one fight that never dies: the GOAT debate. Stephen A. stays locked on one view. Michael Jordan is the greatest to ever lace him up, and he thinks LeBron knows it and hates that reminder staring him down. That's the engine behind the whole saga, no fluff. The Bronny chatter sparked it, but the GOAT talk kept it sizzling for years. Stephen A. hasn't budged since day one. He said Jordan sits on top and he's never blinked once. He swears it's not for clicks, it's his true stance, period. On First Take, he defends it with that hot TV energy that made his name ring out. The resume is his anchor: 6 rings, 6 finals MVPs, 0 finals Ls, and a killer aura that speaks loud by itself. Also, didn't see Michael Jordan joining Dwayne and Bosh and then AD. Okay, so I didn't see that, I'm sorry. Kyrie and Kevin Love before that, I ain't see that. Stephen A. always reminds folks Jordan never had to claw back from 3-1 because he never let a series tilt like that in the first place. The spotless final slate is his mic drop. Jordan's throne stays untouched no matter how many totals LeBron stacks. And when he digs into LeBron's legacy, he points to one sore spot: the 2011 Finals versus the Mavs, breaking it down like courtroom receipts in angles step by step. And then Stephen A. breaks down those 2011 Finals like he's solving a mystery. He digs into the numbers, the film, and even calls out the defenders who shut LeBron down: Jason Terry and JJ Barea. Not exactly defensive legends, but somehow they clamped one of the greatest players alive. To Stephen A., that wasn't just a bad stretch, it was a full-on choke in the clutch. Still, Stephen A. gives LeBron his respect. He's never said that one meltdown erases everything the man's done. He's even praised LeBron for coming back strong after 2012, saying he rebuilt his case in the GOAT debate with grit and greatness. But 2011, Stephen A. says that stain never fades. Those 4 fourth quarters are locked in his argument forever. They matter. He says when you stack LeBron against Jordan, that series can't be ignored. It's part of the story, win or lose. And when Stephen A. breaks down MJ versus LeBron, he doesn't stop at rings. He talks about Jordan's insane prime: 10 scoring titles, the highest scoring average in NBA history at 30 a game, and 9 all-defensive first-team honors, plus that 1988 Defensive Player of the Year award, something few superstar scorers ever touch. To Stephen A., those aren't just stats, they're proof Jordan wasn't just smooth, he was dangerous on both ends. He'd lock up guards 1 second and drop buckets the next. That's the two-way firepower Stephen A. swears puts Jordan above everyone, including LeBron. And even now, he gives LeBron his flowers. In his 22nd and 23rd seasons, LeBron's still dominating, breaking records, leading the league in milestones, and standing alone as the only player ever with 40,000 points, 10K boards, and 10K assists. That's unreal. Even Stephen admits it. LeBron's longevity is straight up legendary. But when it comes to the throne, he says Jordan's perfection in the finals and that cold-blooded killer instinct keep him locked at the top. Here's where Stephen A. flips the script. He says longevity ain't the same as dominance. Okay, so I get to look at that and deduce that's my definition of a GOAT, and most people who watch the NBA would agree with me. Okay, if you want to disagree, fine. If you want to pretend you disagree, fine, because this is an incredibly influential figure who is somebody that a lot of people believe if you associate with them, you could capitalize off of that exponentially because he's successful, he's connected, he knows things, he can help people, etc., etc. Jordan's prime, in his eyes, reached a level LeBron's never touched. He always points to that clutch gene, the way Jordan closed games with no fear, no hesitation, just ice in his veins. LeBron's greatness is undeniable, but Stephen A. swears Jordan's mentality was different, ruthless and untouchable. Then he drops one of his favorite takes, the super team debate. He argues Jordan never chased rings by team hopping. When LeBron left Cleveland in 2010 to link with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, Stephen A. says that move changed the league forever. It turned build your team into join a stacked one. And for many fans, that shift changed how they saw LeBron's legacy. Jordan, he stayed put with the Bulls, the squad that drafted him. He didn't run to play with other stars. He became the star others rose around. With Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman stepping up, he built a dynasty from scratch, 6 rings deep. LeBron's road was different. He joined forces with Wade and Bosh in Miami, came back to Cleveland to win with Kyrie and Love, then went to LA to grab another ring with Anthony Davis. Stephen A. still gives LeBron props. He calls him incredible, but says every title came with another superstar next to him. Jordan, he argues, made teammates legendary. LeBron teamed up with legends to win. And that, to Stephen A. and die-hard Jordan loyalists, is the difference. It's not just who's greater, it's how they got there. Stephen A. even stirs it deeper, claiming some people pushing LeBron as the GOAT aren't doing it from belief, they're doing it for clout or connections. He says too many folks twist history to fit the moment. For him, it's simple. Respect LeBron's greatness, but don't rewrite the truth. Jordan's dominance and loyalty still set the gold standard. According to Stephen A., LeBron's power goes way beyond basketball. He's not just a superstar, he's a full-blown mogul with reach across sports, business, and Hollywood. He's got companies, major connections, and enough influence to open doors or quietly close them. Stephen A. claims plenty of people hype LeBron as the GOAT just to stay in his good graces, even if deep down they don't truly believe it. That kind of pull, he says, shapes how people talk about greatness today. It's a bold claim and tough to prove, but it shows exactly how suspicious Stephen A. is of what happens behind the curtain. He says LeBron's got 2 sides, the charming public icon and the quiet power player who moves pieces behind the scenes. Stephen A. even hinted that LeBron's used his influence to quietly block certain opportunities in the media world. For Stephen A., the GOAT debate stopped being about stats and rings a long time ago. He says it's about control, who owns the story, and who shapes basketball history. In his eyes, it's not just a battle for legacy, it's a fight for influence, where perception can crown a king just as fast as performance. And when Stephen A. wraps it up, he calls it simple, his truth. He admits he's not fully neutral, but he swears he's real about where he stands. He says he won't sugarcoat or play politics just to keep LeBron's camp happy. That raw honesty, that refusal to fold, that's what he takes pride in. It's not just talk for him, it's a statement. Stephen A. Smith sees himself as the one voice in sports media who will say out loud what everyone else only whispers. Whether that's his real truth or just part of the Stephen A. Show is up for debate, but one thing's certain, that fearless image fuels his long-running war with LeBron James. When the Bronny James drama exploded into a full-blown feud, that I'll say it to anybody energy made the fire burn even hotter. Stephen A. refuses to back down, no matter who's across from him. To really get why things are icy between Stephen A. and LeBron in 2025, you've got to rewind to the start. The Bronny situation. LeBron's oldest son made NBA history in 2024 when the Lakers drafted him, becoming the first father-son duo ever to share the same team. That part? But that don't mean you should avoid acknowledging and recognizing the truth. And the truth is that that's what it is, and so I look at it from that standpoint, and that's where I'm at with it. But instead of pure celebration, it sparked one of the wildest debates the league's ever seen. Bronny's road wasn't a smooth ride. In July 2023, during a USC workout, he suffered a sudden cardiac arrest that stunned the sports world. Fans didn't even know if he'd touch the court again. His comeback months later was powerful, but his college stats had people doubting if he was ready for the NBA spotlight. His shooting came and went, and his scoring stayed modest. Critics wondered if his game could really hold up against pros. So when the Lakers drafted him in the second round and gave him a guaranteed roster spot, the internet went crazy. Everyone started asking, did Bronny earn that shot, or did his last name open the door? Because let's be real, LeBron isn't just another player. He's the face of the Lakers and one of the most powerful names the game has ever seen. Even ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski had to weigh in on the Bronny situation. He admitted nepotism's always been part of the NBA, from locker rooms to front offices, but said Bronny's case was something totally different. With LeBron's global influence, massive brand power, and now sharing a roster spot with his own son, the story exploded way beyond basketball. The league had never seen anything like it, and that's when Stephen A. Smith jumped straight into the storm and turned the whole thing into a media wildfire. On First Take through January and February 2025, he became the loudest voice questioning if Bronny really earned his spot. He didn't hold back. Stephen A. said flat out that Bronny's numbers didn't scream NBA ready. He asked if LeBron's power was carrying more weight than Bron's actual performance, and if the Lakers were protecting a story instead of a roster spot. Just like that, the father-son fairy tale turned into one of the biggest controversies of the decade, all because Stephen A. said what everyone else was too scared to say. Some fans thought he was just being real, doing his job, but others saw it as cold and personal, especially after Bronny's scary comeback from cardiac arrest. That return wasn't just about hoops, it was about survival, and people felt Stephen A. was missing the heart behind it. That's when things got heated. For LeBron, this was about defending his family, not debating stats. But for Stephen A., it was about telling the truth, no filter, no fear. That clash of pride and principle turned a rookie discussion into one of the wildest sports feuds of 2025. Stephen A. kept driving his point home, saying Bronny should be in the G League, working on his game, not holding an NBA spot. He said the Lakers were chasing image over impact, but made sure to word it slick, keeping it professional while still cutting deep. Stephen A. made it clear he wasn't attacking Bronny as a person. He said his real focus was on LeBron's decisions as both a father and an NBA legend. On First Take, Stephen A. even sounded emotional, saying he was speaking to LeBron as a father, urging him to stop putting so much pressure on his son. He warned that no young player could handle that kind of spotlight, especially one carrying the James name. That's what made the moment explode, because while Stephen A. called it fatherly advice, LeBron and his camp took it as a personal dig. That misunderstanding turned the whole situation from a basketball debate into something way deeper and way more personal. That fine line between questioning LeBron's parenting and criticizing Bronny directly became the heart of the feud. So when LeBron confronted Stephen A. courtside in March, it was obvious he felt that line had been crossed. For him, this wasn't media talk, it was family business. But Stephen A. stood tall, saying his comments were about LeBron's influence, not Bronny's character. Before long, the Bronny talk blew up into a league-wide debate about nepotism and privilege in the NBA. Fans started asking, was Bronny's spot another case of family connections opening doors most players never see? Stephen A. didn't hold back. He pointed out Bronny wasn't the first to benefit from a famous last name. He even brought up Thanasis Antetokounmpo, who's been with the Bucks since 2019. Thanasis, Giannis's older brother, barely sees the floor, averages around 3 points, and rarely changes a game, but he's still there. And Stephen A. said everyone knows why. His spot helps keep Giannis happy, plain and simple. Stephen A. said the real difference with Bronny's case is the spotlight. The James family lives under a level of fame no one else comes close to. Every shot, every turnover, every off night, Bronny's every move becomes national news. That kind of pressure makes it nearly impossible for him to just grow into his game naturally. For LeBron, this fight was about protecting his son's dignity, making sure Bronny didn't get buried under the media chaos. But for Stephen A., it was about protecting the game. He said it wasn't personal, it was about keeping things fair and calling out what looked like a conflict of interest. That clash between a father's protection and a journalist's accountability turned a simple debate into one of 2025's biggest storylines. And critics have been saying for years that Antetokounmpo's spot on the Bucks is more about keeping Giannis happy than about what Thanasis brings to the court. It's business, they say. Keep your MVP satisfied, keep your title hopes alive. But others call it unfair, arguing that a hungry G League player could have earned that spot on merit instead of family ties. And this whole family in the league drama isn't new. Back in the Clippers' Lob City era, Austin Rivers found himself in a similar spotlight. Between 2015 and 2018, his dad, Doc Rivers, was the Clippers' head coach and actually traded to bring his own son onto the team. Then Doc gave him a 3-year, $35 million deal. That move had fans and players whispering nonstop about favoritism and family privilege. At the time, Austin was putting up around 9 points a game, solid but not star numbers. Reports later said it created tension in the locker room, especially with stars like Chris Paul and Blake Griffin. And even though Austin went on to build a respectable career elsewhere, his Clippers run became the go-to example of how family ties can shake locker room trust and team chemistry fast. Then there's the Chris Smith situation with the New York Knicks, still one of the wildest examples of NBA favoritism out there. Between 2011 and 2013, Chris, the younger brother of J.R. Smith, somehow landed a partially guaranteed deal with the Knicks. Reports said the move was really about keeping J.R., at one of the team's top spark plugs, happy and loyal. But that decision blew up fast. Chris only played in 2 games and ended up costing the Knicks nearly $2 million in luxury tax penalties. Fans and analysts shredded the move, calling it one of the clearest examples of nepotism in league history. Everyone knew Chris wasn't ready for the NBA spotlight. It was obvious. That's why the whole thing looked like pure favoritism top to bottom. Stories like that explain exactly why the Bronny James situation hit so deep. Nepotism in the NBA isn't new, but when the last name is James, everything changes. The spotlight burns hotter, the opinions get louder, and every play becomes front-page news worldwide. People inside the league admit it. Sometimes roster spots are about keeping stars happy, not just chasing wins. But Bronny's case? That hit different. This wasn't a random player getting a favor. This was the greatest of all time, sharing a team with his own son. Every Lakers decision suddenly carried more weight, and every take about it got personal real fast. Stephen A. Smith didn't mince words. He said, if the Lakers wanted to bring Bronny in to keep LeBron happy, that's business. But he refused to pretend Bronny earned that roster spot strictly off numbers. To him, it was about legacy, not stats, and he owed fans the truth. Stephen A. even warned that pushing Bronny into the NBA too soon could backfire. The attention, pressure, and unrealistic expectations could mess with the kid's confidence long term. He said it wasn't hate, it was honesty, even if it meant ticking off one of the biggest names in basketball. LeBron definitely didn't see it that way. When he stormed up to Stephen A. courtside in March 2025, it showed how deep things had really gotten. LeBron wasn't just defending Bronny's game, he was defending his family. No matter how carefully Stephen A. tried to phrase his takes, LeBron felt that personal line had been crossed. And once family gets involved, emotions take over fast. After that fiery face-off, the drama exploded. Stephen A. refused to walk back a single word, standing tall on everything he'd said. Meanwhile, LeBron clapped back, accusing Stephen A. of using his family for clicks and TV ratings. Both men doubled down. Stephen A. saying he was standing on truth and principle, LeBron saying he was standing on pride and respect. Neither one backed down an inch. The Bronny situation opened up bigger questions that hung over the whole season. Could Bronny really grow into an NBA-level player? Could he escape his father's shadow and make his own name? Or was the pressure just too heavy too soon? As 2025 rolled on, those questions only got louder. Every box score, every highlight, every missed shot reignited the same debate. And with every new argument, the tension between Stephen A. Smith and LeBron James got worse. By then, it wasn't just about basketball, it was personal, emotional, and impossible to ignore. That courtside clash in March didn't come out of nowhere. It had been brewing for years. Stephen A. has said more than once that his tension with LeBron runs deep, going back over a decade. The Bronny drama was just the spark that blew it open. To really get it, you've got to rewind to all those earlier moments when Stephen A. publicly called LeBron out, and how LeBron fired back, both on camera and behind the scenes. It all goes back to one game-changing moment, the decision in 2010. That's when LeBron went live on national TV to announce he was leaving the Cleveland Cavaliers to join the Miami Heat. That broadcast flipped his whole image overnight. Cleveland fans were furious. People burned his jerseys, calling him a sellout. Just like that, LeBron went from hometown hero to basketball's public enemy #1. Stephen A. Smith was one of the loudest voices in that chaos. He didn't just question what LeBron did, he went at how he did it. Stephen A. said turning a personal career choice into a primetime TV event was unnecessary and tone-deaf. He called it a flashy media stunt that didn't match the greatness LeBron claimed to stand for. And he blasted the idea of teaming up with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh instead of building his own legacy in Cleveland from the ground up. That's where the first real tension started, a clash of philosophies. To Stephen A., LeBron's move looked like a shortcut to greatness. But to LeBron, it was strategy, not surrender. From that night on, the two have been split on what true greatness means. Stephen A. wasn't alone in criticizing the decision, plenty of analysts did, but his words cut deep because LeBron pays attention. Everyone in the league knows he listens to every headline, every soundbite, especially from big voices like Stephen A. Smith. So when Stephen A. spoke, it didn't fade into the noise, it stuck. Their dynamic changed forever from that moment on.